Good morning. I'm sorry I can't join you all in person for the 18th annual Government-to-Government Violence Against Women Tribal Consultation, but I'm thankful that I can address this group for the third year in a row. And I'm also grateful that you get to hear from our newly confirmed Director of the Office on Violence Against Women. Rosie is the first Senate-confirmed leader of OVW in 12 years, and she will be a great leader and partner in these efforts. We are very glad to have her on board. I'd also like to thank the OVW Tribal Affairs team for their work to organize this consultation. And my thanks also go out to our federal agency partners at the Department of Interior, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Office of Management and Budget for participating in the consultation. I'm also pleased that the U.S. attorneys for the District of Colorado and all 3 districts in the great state of Oklahoma are with you during the consultation. And I want to extend a special thanks to Chief David Hill, not only for hosting the consultation in Tulsa, but for his steadfast leadership on the myriad issues impacting tribes across the country. Finally, a big thank you to everyone who stands up during this consultation to make their voices heard, to contribute to our ongoing efforts to enhance the safety of Indian women. When I met with you last year, I emphasized how both the Department of Justice and the Biden-Harris administration, more broadly, have prioritized tackling the high rates of violence faced by American Indian and Alaska Native women and girls. We've carried through on that commitment by securing the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act and by taking other actions related to missing and murdered Indigenous persons. Those actions have included launching a steering committee to address MMIP issues, creating the new National Native American Outreach Services Liaison, launching a regional missing or murdered Indigenous persons outreach program through our U.S. attorneys' offices, and directing department prosecutors and agents to prioritize violence in Indian country. Now, this consultation demonstrates our ongoing commitment to working collaboratively with tribal nations, reaffirming the department's pledge to uphold tribal sovereignty. It's also a chance to reaffirm our commitment to pursuing justice for survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, dating violence, and trafficking. I'm thankful for your partnership. We believe that the best solutions to tribal communities' challenges are those shaped and informed by tribal leaders and governments. The 1994 Violence Against Women Act acknowledged tribal sovereignty and the necessity of culturally responsive services to combat violence against Native women. Since then, each reauthorization of VAWA has included stronger provisions for tribes. The latest reauthorization of VAWA in 2022 recognized tribal jurisdiction over an expanded set of covered crimes, thereby providing tribes with additional avenues to protect the safety of women and children in their communities. It also addressed jurisdictional gaps by recognizing the authority of tribes in the state of Maine to exercise jurisdiction over non-Indian offenders and creating a pathway for Alaska tribes to likewise hold accountable non-Indian offenders who commit crimes in their villages. I've directed U.S. attorneys' offices to work closely with their tribal partners to support implementation of the special tribal criminal jurisdiction recognized in the VAWA reauthorizations. I've also encouraged U.S. attorneys to integrate tribal special assistant U.S. attorneys into their operations. These cross-designated tribal prosecutors can bring cases in either federal or tribal court. This helps ensure every viable case involving a violent offense is prosecuted in the appropriate forum. Importantly, this directive provides for U.S. attorneys and law enforcement officers to take specific actions to help ensure their work is victim-centered, trauma-informed, and culturally and linguistically appropriate. I also want to briefly highlight the Tribal Access Program, or TAP, for national crime information. Since 2015, this program has provided tribes access to national crime information databases, which can be vital in violent crime cases. Applications for FY23 TAP funding are now open through September 1st. And pursuant to the new provisions under VAWA, the department is dedicated to carefully implementing the Alaska Pilot Program, which authorizes the Attorney General to designate certain Alaska tribes to exercise special tribal criminal jurisdiction. This work wouldn't be possible without the feedback and guidance received from tribes, including from last year's Violence Against Women tribal consultation held in Alaska. The department's Office on Violence Against Women has solicited proposals to provide this Alaska-specific technical assistance and is preparing to make an award. The department continues to support special tribal criminal jurisdiction, and we're diligently working to deploy the resources needed for tribes choosing to exercise the jurisdiction through targeted financial support. The Office on Violence Against Women also has grant funding for tribes exercising or preparing to implement special tribal criminal jurisdiction. In fact, both the Special Tribal Criminal Jurisdiction Grant Program and Targeted Support for Alaska Native Tribes Special Initiative, an initiative under the Tribal Jurisdiction Grant Program that focuses exclusively on Alaska tribes interested in participating in the Alaska Pilot Program, these are both open for applications until next week. I'm also happy to report that the Department of Justice has issued regulations for the Tribal Reimbursement Program authorized by VAWA 2022. And this program will offer tribes that are exercising special tribal criminal jurisdiction the opportunity to seek reimbursement for expenses incurred in investigating and prosecuting covered crimes. We are steadfast in our pledge to work as partners with tribal governments in preventing and responding to the missing or murdered Indigenous persons crisis. We launched the steering committee to coordinate and guide the department's ongoing work on this issue. This June, in furtherance of this pledge, we launched the MMIP Regional Outreach Program. This program designates 5 regions where we will permanently place 10 attorneys and coordinators to aid in the prevention and response to missing or murdered Indigenous people. These new positions represent the department's continuing commitment to addressing the MMIP crisis. We at the Justice Department continue to work with our colleagues at the Interior Department to implement the Not Invisible Act, particularly the Act's cross-jurisdictional commission composed of both federal and non-federal members. The Not Invisible Act Commission has brought together law enforcement, tribal leaders, federal partners, service providers, family members, and survivors to develop recommendations for combating this epidemic. The Justice Department's representatives on the Commission, who are leaders and subject matter experts, have participated in the Commission's field hearings this past year, including in Tulsa, to learn from tribal leaders and family members most affected by this epidemic. And I was delighted to join Secretary Haaland to welcome the Commission to Washington for its first in-person plenary meeting earlier this year, and we look forward to receiving the Commission's recommendations. Finally, I'd like to express my appreciation to the tribes impacted by the Supreme Court's decision in McGirt v. Oklahoma for their partnership in addressing the public safety implications of the decision. Last December, I had the opportunity to meet with the Attorneys General of the Muskogee Creek and Cherokee Nations, along with U.S. attorneys for the Northern and Eastern districts of Oklahoma and other federal law enforcement partners. We all pledged to continue our collaborative efforts to address crimes against women, among other crimes, in areas of concurrent jurisdiction. The department remains committed to working with tribal partners in providing the necessary support. For example, the Office on Violence Against Women invited impacted tribes to apply for funds to support staffing, infrastructure, victim services, and other justice system needs following the decision. Although these efforts are vital, we know there is more work to be done. And your testimony over these 3 days will shape the future work of the department, and I thank you for your recommendations and feedback. As we move forward, I look forward to strengthening our collaborations, understanding, and commitment in addressing violence against Indigenous women. Thank you.